Hello and welcome back. I am David Caldecott and this is my novel, Time Not Here. We are reading it out from the beginning to the end. I'm posting the videos on Facebook and on YouTube. Please do go ahead and check out the whole series. Please please drop some comments and share with anyone who you feel would enjoy the book too, if you enjoy the book. I have a friend who would love you, Peaches says one day, about a week into her fortnight of training in the restaurant. Daniel smiles. Why? Why what? Why would she love me? Oh, duh. Well, she was telling me that she was bored of the guys around her. She just wants someone who's smart and good looking. Well, I'm flattered, Peaches. He wasn't sure if the compliment was genuine, but took it anyways. What's she like? She's great, super cute, clever, and she's a redhead. Sold, Daniel laughs. How do you know her? I used to work with her down in Glastonbury, but we still talk a lot. She's 21, so I'm like her big sister. Glastonbury is a 5-hour drive south from York. Not exactly the perfect place for a new girlfriend to live, especially if he's about to go traveling. Nonetheless, Daniel has been presented with an opportunity. He takes it. Can you give me her number? He asks. Peaches laughs, then widens her eyes when she realizes that he's serious. Sure, okay. She'd love that. My break's in an hour and I'll get my phone from my locker then. The next hour passes quickly. Daniel enjoying the presents he brings to his customers, many of whom are lost in their Facebook feeds or anxiously checking if anyone is judging them for how quickly they're eating their food. Peaches eventually comes down in her plain clothes and canters to the bar. Daniel joins her, but before he could speak, she blurts, "Finally, I've been waiting all day for this break. I am knackered." He smiles. She makes her coffee with whatever the opposite of grace is, thumping around as she grabs the mug, bashing the pour button and tapping her other hand on the counter, huffing and puffing in impatience. So, he starts, "What's her number?" He notices how confidently he'd said it. His old self would have filled the phrase with, "Could you please?" and "Would you mind terribly if?" The over-polite and underwhelming way that most around him would ask. "Oh yeah," she says with much more enthusiasm than he expected. She takes her phone out and reads out the number as Daniel copies it into his waiter pad. "And what's her name?" She smiles. "Serenity." He pulls his phone out and writes a text. It doesn't require much thought to put together. Before he hits send, he has a flashback of how he used to worry. Am I being too forward? Will she think this text is interesting enough? Etc. He takes a deep breath and taps send. Now, someone with the name Serenity must have an interesting story. Peaches tells me you're smart, but that's about it. Tell me more. He returns to work and enjoys the rest of his shift, diligently counting up the cash tips at the end of the night. As he leaves the old Victorian building that houses the restaurant, his phone finally vibrates. Haha, what an opener. Well, I'm a makeup artist by day and that keeps me busy. I know absolutely nothing about you, so fill me in. Winky face. Over the next few hours, his text conversation with Serenity is non-stop. He has no idea what she looks like, so eventually asks for a photo. I have an aversion to selfies, she replies. He decides to have some fun with her. Okay, Miss Aversion to Selfies, how about just a picture of your eye? She replies that she's already taken her makeup off and then changes the subject. Makeup schmakeup, I'd love to see your eyes, not your eyeliner. Take a risk. What have you got to lose? Well, I had nothing to lose, but that doesn't make me want to do it anymore. Okay, so let's talk about what you stand to gain. What can I do in return? He hits send and sits down. The cat walks in after a jaunt outside. He has an idea. How about a lovely picture of my cat? He writes, attaching a photo of the furry friend. Isn't he cute? After a few seconds, she replies, so cute. Then all goes quiet. Patiently, Daniel waits, resisting the urge to break the silence himself. Actually, I've told you what I look like, but you haven't told me. She sends a few minutes later. Please describe yourself in 100 words or less. He smiles. Well, I'm happy sending you a picture, so I'll save you the words. I'll swap a picture of my whole face for one of just your eye. Eyes are magical to me. I must see yours. No reply. He gets up to make dinner and listens to music while he cooks. A full day passes of usual work and home routines before Daniel thinks about her again, sending a simple message that feels appropriate. So, did I lose that round? Haha, no, she replies shortly after. I just fell asleep. I'll see what I can do. What do you have planned for your day? Without thinking, Daniel is already calling her out. Boo! I'll see what I can do equals I'm still too afraid to just take the risk and do it now, so instead I'm going to buy myself some time. Turn the camera on, take the pic, and send it. Easy. Then I'll tell you about my exciting day. Attached to her reply is a portrait photo, showing not just her eye, but her whole face and neck. Happy now? Absolutely. She is stunning. Her pale skin next to the deep red hair makes him think of Snow White crossed with a Celtic queen. Her lips are dainty and alluring, her nose cute and strokeable. Everything is in good proportion, and Daniel feels an instant attraction. You look delicious, Serenity. Those eyes do not disappoint. Thank you for breaking your selfie rule for me. How does it feel? In most pictures of me, I look like some sort of goblin, but that one is okay, so I feel good. So I'm gonna have to see what you think is you looking like a goblin. I can't imagine it. You look nice. You look pretty. Does a different angle reveal some nasty warts and horns, or are you just being self-deprecating because you don't like getting compliments? He thinks for a moment, then sends another message. Because you don't need to talk about yourself like that. Smiley face. Enjoy the free compliment. Here's another for you. You have lovely cheeks. He's never spoken to a girl like this before. He's enjoying every second of it. He isn't afraid of offending her. He isn't afraid of saying the wrong thing and being thought of as a creep. He's saying what he wants to say. As a hairy, testosterone-fueled man, that gorilla is speaking through him. Thanks, she replies. It's not that I don't like compliments, it's just that I don't believe them most of the time. She changes the topic, and Daniel makes small talk for a while about his coming adventure in France. He jokes about what would happen if they fell in love and ran off to get married in Italy, knowing full well that they both understand this little digital relationship to be, by definition, short-lived. A trait, humor, he would never have credited himself with and had so envied in Lathe was now flowing with such timing that he's laughing out loud at his own jokes. Of course, Lathe is a psychopath, so this is not at all the same. Daniel invites Sam for dinner. The meal is simple, spinach and bacon in a buttery omelette, served with an avocado and a side salad. To lubricate their gullets and their conversation, a cheap bottle of Pinot Grigio is opened and chilled in the makeshift ice bucket. So, Sam starts after some small talk about work. You haven't gone insane, so that's good to see. Daniel laughs and pours the wine. No, quite the opposite actually. But first, let's eat. He dishes up the brightly coloured omelette and passes Sam his plate, before sitting on the sofa and insisting that Sam take the ginger throne. As they eat, Daniel's recently liked playlist is playing through the stereo. Fast-paced and self-indulgent songs no longer make an appearance on that playlist. After Kimber, the ambient sound of chill-out music and the insightful lyrics of thoughtful musicians are far more likable. For the first time, he'd actually been listening to the lyrics, considering what the artist was thinking or feeling when they wrote the piece. Songs he'd heard 100 times now had meaning, not just a tune to tap your foot to. Lyrics such as Damien Rice's chorus for Older Chests. Like time, there's always time on my mind. So pass me by, I'll be fine. Just give me time. Or Etherwood's Begin by Letting Go. And all of my limitations begin to fade away. In this place, I have freedom. It's here I wish to stay. Thoughts become distant feelings. I'm going with the flow. I'll just sit still now and begin by letting go. What were once just words now speak to the stillness found in the present moment, of the peace you find when you let go of the ego and the illusion of the past and future, to focus on what is here now. The songs ring out in the background as the two eat and chat about Sam's progress with his PhD. I'm finding it pretty annoying, actually, Sam confides. You know, I got into this to do research that I cared about, to help change the world by discovering awesome new physics that makes our lives easier and pushes the species forward. Are you not feeling like that's what you're doing? Daniel asks. Not at all. My research is fueled by big industry and the government, and they're only interested in the short-term profit-making potential of new technology, which I understand, but what it causes in the physics department is a bunch of grant grabbers whose first question is not, how does this work? It's, how can this get me a grant? The incentive has become about money rather than the pure joy of discovery. Is it the same in the other sciences? From what I'm hearing, yes. You know, the real breakthroughs in science haven't come from research conducted by university professors, funded by government think tanks or corporate interests. They came from folks who just loved physics. Tinkerers, Daniel interrupts. Exactly. Sam takes a glug of wine and continues. Newton, Curie, Einstein, even Feynman, they were just playing with the maths, the machines, and the graphs, asking questions and looking for answers because they were curious, not because they were being paid to find answers. Of course, the first few you mentioned had other income streams when they did their work, whether from family inheritance or by working at the patent office. They did their work on their own time, disconnected from the academic career ladders. Right. A few moments of silence pass. Daniel wonders what his friend needs to hear. You know, a PhD is the thing that unlocks your ability to pursue your interests. Once you have that piece of paper, you can leave York and choose whichever uni you want to go to, picking the one that's doing research that you want to do. It might be tough right now to have to do research that bores you, but once it's over, you'll be free and qualified to go anywhere. I suppose, Sam nods. I've only got another year and then I'm done. Exactly. Why not put those thoughts of disdain for your research just on hold, knowing that when the time comes, you'll have freedom? Carry on doing the best with what you have. You never know, you might accidentally discover a cold fusion or something. Sam laughs and shakes his head. Not likely. The mood is lighter. Having shared his own concerns, Sam shifts the conversation towards Daniel's Kimber ceremony. So, tell me all about Kimber. I won't lie, you are different. It's hard to know where to start, but I suppose I'll begin by telling you the two big lessons that came out of the experience, and then I'll tell you about some of the key visions. But first, to put it all into context, Sam described to Sam the lead up to the ceremony in as much detail as seemed necessary. He tells him about the flight over, the morning at the pool, the awkward first hour with the group, the testimony of Hans, Celeste, and others, the cards and the offering, painting a picture of the uncertain introductions and the emotional honesty of the group. Hold on, you're a physicist, Daniel. You can't believe in tarot cards. Sam laughs. Daniel chuckles too, aware of how much of a 180-degree turn he's made in his outlook since their last conversation together. I don't know, man, it was pretty compelling. Sam interrupts. Did Magda give you the cards after the sharing session? Yes, Daniel replies, knowing exactly where Sam is going. So she could have just picked cards that were related to what each person had shared. Sam's skeptic muscles are fully flexed. She could have, but I watched her pick up the deck out of its box and hold the fan cards out in front of each person. We picked a card at random. She didn't pick it for us. Yeah, but you've seen magic shows, Daniel. You know they can use suggestion and micro movements to make you pick a certain card. Maybe, Daniel interrupts, maybe with just one person picking a card, someone could get, say, a 70% chance of them picking the right card. And yeah, on the TV show, they will only keep the takes when it actually works and they'll edit out when it didn't. But you know probability theory, Sam. If you're going around a room with 10 people, the chance that every single person picks the card that you want them to pick is pretty damn slim. Even if the likelihood with the person is as high as 95%, the combined probability of all 10 people getting it is what, less than 60%? Sam does some quick math in his head and agrees, 59-ish. Right, then you have to factor in that she's supposedly doing the magic trick immediately after the sharing session, with no time to pre-select the cards she wants people to pick. But she might have picked them before, maybe when she first met you. Before the walk, she figured out which cards to pick and chose them when you weren't paying attention. Daniel shakes his head. That's a big stretch. But look, even if what you're saying is true, this means that she lied to us, to our faces. And I can't believe that someone as compassionate and gentle as Magda would lie like that. So what's your theory? Maybe it's like the World of Warcraft server thing. Maybe when I picked the card, I was tapping into the data stream with a question, what do I need to hear? Until I looked at the card, it could have said anything, like Schrodinger's cat, dead and alive at the same time, only becoming one or the other when an observer looks. Sounds like hogwash to me, dude. Just hear me out. Maybe there's a behind-the-scenes process where conscious minds can interact with the uncertainty in the quantum spaces we know about from physics. In that room, surrounded by people with a shared goal of providing support to themselves and others, maybe my observation collapsed the wave function of what might have been on that card, bringing the one that was most relevant to me. Realizing how much his words were triggering Sam, he decides to move on. Look, it doesn't matter if she did it on purpose, or if the grey aliens made it happen. The point is, we all got cards that were intensely meaningful to us, and that laid the foundation for the self-work that was to come. Returning to the story, Daniel tells Sam about the physical sensations that preceded the journey, the electric sparks, and describes the buildup of self-critical thoughts that culminated in the purging of his stomach and his first experience of deep stillness. That sounds very enlightening, Sam says after thinking it over. I agree with what you said about living in the moment, but I guess I don't do it enough myself. He tells Daniel about how he had experienced moments of that stillness with his new girlfriend, where his anxieties faded away and he was just there with her. Amazing. It doesn't last very long, you know. Pretty quickly, I find myself thinking about whether she likes me, what I should say next, etc., etc. This is where my next big revelation came in. Learning how to be a courageous man. Sam winces. Daniel shares the struggles he'd had with feeling masculine, courageous, bold, and sure of himself. He tells Sam about the visions of his childhood, including Ethan and the mouse. Finally, he shares the gorilla vision. That sounds intense, Sam says, shaking his head. I've never felt more like myself than I did when I was that gorilla. The strength in my bones, the confidence. I've never felt more sure of myself than when I was that gorilla. The strength in my bones, the confidence in my stride. I felt like a true male animal. As Daniel goes into the kitchen to make tea, his phone vibrates on the counter. A text from Serenity. How's dinner going? She asks. Very well, thank you. A much-needed catch-up with an old friend. Empowered by reliving his gorilla experience a few minutes earlier, he escalates the flirtation. The dinner may go on past your bedtime. Before you go to sleep, make me happy and say something naughty. A few minutes pass before her reply. Are you literally just talking to me to get yourself off? He smiles. A year ago, he would have instantly replied, begging for forgiveness. No, of course not. I'm sorry, etc. But he doesn't need to do that. He carries on with dinner and doesn't reply until Sam says goodbye and leaves a few hours later, after many more philosophical musings had been exchanged. Taking out his phone, he asks himself, what would I say if I felt no fear of the outcome? I'm talking to you because I'm enjoying talking to you. You interest me. You make me smile. I'm having fun with you, and you seem intelligent, which is a rare find. Second of all, if I wasn't talking to you like a man who's romantically and sexually interested in a woman, and yes, getting off on the flirting and picture swapping, then you'd be having another boring conversation with some boy in the friend zone. If you wanted a friendly chat with someone who's too scared to take risks and talk dirty with a girl, then there were plenty of chances to turn back sooner than here. But then, you never did ask me to stop, did you? Satisfied, he turns his phone off, relaxes into his bed, and falls asleep. The next morning, he wakes to find her reply. All I mean is that if you want to talk for a prolonged period of time, i.e. not a week, and then just getting bored, then it might be wise for us to talk about things other than sex. I don't mind talking about sex, but I prefer not to exclusively. Getting the hang of his new authentic texting voice, he writes his reply. If I'm going to be talking to you for more than a week, then I want it to be fun as well as interesting. It's hardly been exclusively about sex, but maybe more than you're used to. As I say, I want to know more about you, but this isn't some boy you work with and are chatting to. So take me or leave me, but if you want to keep discovering each other, then you'll need to accept a certain amount of naughtiness. Try it out for size. We can talk about career goals and political leanings later. He smiles to himself and gets to his morning routines. As he makes his buttery coffee and gets his clothes ready for work, his phone buzzes again. I don't mean this to sound boo-hoo, feel sorry for me, but I suppose I'm more reserved because I don't have people interested in me all that often and I'm not used to it. He replies as honestly as he'd done so far. That's okay. I'm just trying to help you open up a bit and feel good about yourself. If it's too much, tell me, but don't lash out with presumptions about my reasons for talking to you. You're here, which tells me that though you may not be used to it, you kind of like it. And that's fine, that's okay. Let yourself enjoy it without judgment. And tell me when you enjoy it so that I know you're enjoying yourself. That's why I wanted you to say something naughty last night, to push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And by the way, thank you for being real with me in your last message. He walks to work with a spring in his step. As he goes, the songs of the dawn birds sound like an applause, despite the storm clouds brewing in the distance.